First of all, congratulations on the award, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How do you feel like after winning the award? Like, what was your reaction when you first heard about it?
It's pretty much, it's nothing to be very. I'm glad that it's come to me, but I'm not like it's nothing to celebrate and rejoice because we are in a time in our life where it's full of adversity. Hundreds and thousands and millions of people are losing their jobs and don't have food to eat. So there's no celebration. But yes, this is a good pivot to go forward and help more people.
What was your inspiration to start a campaign like that and to feed others in need?
Avni, as an Indian, since we are kids, we are always seeing the temples and the gurdwaras are always giving out food to people who are in need. I come from Allahabad, and during the Mahakumbh and in the Kumbh Mela, we used to always set up food and rest shivers in Allahabad. My father used to do that, so that's something that I've been grown up with, and that is in my culture. So if I am located in Thailand, that is something that I just did over here to help the people out, to whoever was in need, and that's all we are doing, and we are doing that as of now as well.
That's great to hear. So carrying out Indian culture even in an abroad country, can you tell me something about your Indian roots and your journey from India to Thailand?
Sure, Avni. I was born and raised in Allahabad, and I have that's where I was all through my life. Then I went and studied at the Manipal University. I spent around 4 years there. I was working with the ITC hotels in Jaipur, in Chennai, in Bombay. And then after completing 4.5, 5 years working with ITC hotels, I'd moved to Bangkok as the executive chef of a Fraser hotel. And from there, I decided to move on and start my own restaurant, which is restaurant Haoma. And here we are today, 4 years later, doing what we are doing.
So you serve Indian food, like fine dining, and
yes, I cook very classic Indian food, but I serve it in fine dining format.
So
yes,
what will you say about the Indian community in Bangkok, like the Indian diaspora?
The Indian diaspora is pretty huge. There's around 450,000, 4.5 lakh Indians who live in Thailand. So the community is pretty huge, and they are out of these 4.5 lakh Indians that live here, probably 50, 60,000 are Indians, but rest of them are Thai Indians who are second or third generation. So they have some Indian roots, but they've already migrated towards Thai cultures because they are born and raised there. Their eating habits are like that. So but it's a good community, close-knitted community. They still celebrate Indian festivals. They eat Indian food. They have Indian culture and heritage. So it's a nice diaspora out here.
So do they visit your restaurant like to taste?
Yeah, it's one of the major chunks. We focus on locals. That's why our restaurant is not that affected, because we are not based on tourism like other restaurants in the country, and we have always focused on the people who are in and around us. So yes, a large chunk of my visitors at Haoma are the Indians and Thai Indians who live here.
So what's your specialty?
I cook classic Indian food. I don't really blend in specifically only in one region of India. We cook food from everywhere in India where I have experienced the cuisine. You can find a Nilgiri korma on my menu, and at the same time, you can find a Hyderabadi biryani, and you can find a khandvi. So there is a blend of Indian cuisine, because I think restricting Indian food to only North Indian or South Indian is not doing justice to it, and that's why we cook food from all 4 directions of India.
What sells the most, like in the Indian menu? What's the most popular item?
You know, Avni, that we don't have a menu like that. We only do a tasting menu. So if you come to the restaurant, you have to eat what I'm cooking. The guests come to eat what I'm cooking. It's not like they can order the menu. They can only tell us if there is something that they don't like or they don't eat. We can replace that. But a tasting menu format is where we do 13 dishes and they come to eat those 13 dishes.
Yeah, so I've heard that you created employment for migrants, and so can you tell us more about that aspect?
Yes, Avani, we are all migrants. मैं भी एक migrant हूँ ना. इलाहाबाद से Bangkok में आया हूँ, तो I'm a migrant, and I think that the opportunities for migrants are always lesser than the people of the of that particular civilization and society. तो हमारी responsibility है to be able to help those जो खुद को मदद नहीं कर सकते, या to be able to help those who need more help. So migrants are usually at the bottom of the Hunger Games society, correct? and they are the ones who are working without passports, without visas, getting underpaid, being paid minimum bottom line. So सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत तो उनको है ना, तो इसलिए उनकी मदद करना was our first and the foremost criteria. Now, we are migrants, family of migrants. My grandfather migrated from Lahore in 1942, so that's something in our blood. And eventually we are all, the whole world is full of migrants. Not so specifically उन लोग को borderline करना is not really because some migrant communities are not as privileged as we are as migrants, so हम उनको sideline नहीं कर सकते, but they are one of us. They are one of us, so they have to be supported. Is how I look at it.
So what are these what countries are they from mainly?
Nepal, Myanmar, and Cambodia.
That's great.
Yes.
And one thing I would obviously want to ask you, like being so far from your native homeland, what do you miss the most about India?
I miss the most about India is I miss the chaos of India is what I miss the most. And I obviously miss the cuisine a lot. And that's why I used to, मैं साल में 3 बार India आता था, 4 बार, because it's, Bangkok is one of the closest destinations from India. So I used to visit home 3 to 4 times a year to be able to come rejuvenate in the culture, rejuvenate in the cuisine. And घर तो घर होता है. You cannot, उसका कोई replacement नहीं होता.
Exactly. So
yes,
your journey has been like being recognized for what you do, and is the greatest thing you'll ever get. So now, since after the pandemic has subdued a little bit and your restaurants back open, how do you plan to continue the campaign?
So Avni, as a part of the world's 50 best champions of change award that I've gotten as one of the 3 chefs in the world, so they are also recognize me not only for what I'm doing for No One Hungry, but also for what I'm doing for sustainability. So you know that we are the most sustainable restaurant in all of Southeast Asia at the moment. So we are currently, to be able to take these agendas forward, sabse pehle we are getting the award money which is coming from No One Hungry, which is going to be in excess of $30,000. उस प्राइस मनी को हम यूज करके we are going to make a kitchen which will be like a temple kitchen, जहाँ पर हर रोज more than 1,000 meals will be made and can be given to people. जिसको भी जरूरत है वो आके ले सकता है, just like a gurdwara. In gurdwara they don't check your ID card na before you want to eat. You can be Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, anybody, and you can eat there. So that is the agenda that I'm gonna follow. And then followed by, in the terms of sustainability, we are taking the agenda forward and building our own farms. And we are going to be growing all of our own produce. We are starting with a poultry farm, followed by a dairy farm, and followed by root vegetable and other green leafy vegetable cultivations. And to be able to be really organic and really sustainable, we are also doing this less than 30 kilometers away from the city, so which is within the city itself. And that will help us reduce our carbon footprint with a mass, at a very large scale. Yes.